What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Work Faster with your boy Fox. Today we are going over default presets that are automatic to your audio plugins in Ableton, as well as going over audio racks. Why? Because these all allow you to work faster. Let's get started. So not only are default presets really useful because you don't ever have to worry about it whenever you initialize something, it really does allow you to work on other things faster because you've already got some of the most basic work done for you. In addition to that, saving presets, once again, saves you that 5 to 10 seconds of time that you could be spending on literally anything else besides doing the same motion over and over and over again to no avail. Then when you could be using all of that to create something interesting. So for instance, we'll go over something really, really simple. I'm just going to go ahead and start and put a random bass note or bass sample in here. So we found one, the one we like. We're going to have it here. Pretty basic. It sounds like it's just a bass going blah 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 blah. But let's say for some reason you like the top element of it that you want to EQ, but you don't want any of the sub in there. So for instance, you would go ahead and open up and go find your EQ that you use. So for instance, we're going to be talking about a lot of stock plugins today. So we're going to go to things like our EQ8. And once we initialize it, we get our basic standard EQ8. There's 4 nodes enabled, blah, blah, blah. If I wanted to cut off the low frequencies, you'd have to first shape the first node to a brick wall. And then you got to find that right sweet spot. So usually I like to cut around 100. And now, once you hear it, congratulations, you've now cut off your low end. However, if you already know that's what you want to do and you want to go ahead and just put in a EQ that already looks like this, you're able to save this with the cute little right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner. There's a little floppy disk. Isn't that archaic? You can go ahead and click this and it'll pop up to your user library of all your different samples and all your different plugins. And from there, I already have one called 100 Cut. Literally, I'll just type in 100 or EQ 100 cut off. Now, if I get rid of this, we'll hear the bass is back. And now, when we double click this, voila. It's a preset that you can use in all of your different stock, Ableton stock plugins. Really useful stuff. And it just allows you to work a little bit faster, not having to do the same things over and over and over again. Now, let's say that you wanted to combine an EQ like this, but you wanted to give it some sort of erosion or any kind of audio quality that is kind of tailored to your sound whenever you produce music. But you keep having to initialize all of the plugins every time you do something. So let's say a lot of Rez's stuff or a lot of different artists in the Rez caliber use a lot of redux or bit crushing to get that kind of very grimy feel through the higher frequencies. And you literally bit crush. It's hard to explain, but essentially you distort the sample and make it kind of less than what it was beforehand. So let's say you do that a lot, but you do that a lot on tops and leads. So if you know that's the case, then you can go ahead and include, we can keep this here, but we'll open up our basic Ableton Redux, which is it's a bit crusher. First you want to go to audio effects and not presets because we don't have any presets in there. So Redux, driving color, boom, we have it here. So, and as a preference, as a note, I like to put things before any EQing because twofold. One, the audio plugin that you're using is going to affect the direct output of whatever sample or sound that you're using, and then it'll EQ after. In addition to that, potentially with any effects that you put on something after you EQ it, it could reintroduce low end or whatever you're trying to EQ in the first place. Things to remember as you produce and keep going. So I put my Bit Crusher Redux beforehand, and we'll turn it down here. That sounds like a lot of other stuff I've heard before. So we have this and we have this. Now, let's say this is a particular sound that you use a lot, and you can go ahead and, you know, find your little sweet spot like that. Let's say that's your sound. Now, what's cool is that you can go ahead and holding down Control, or rather Shift, sorry. Now you have both of these selected. And if you hit Control or Command G, that will group them together. Why is this important? Because just like how you can go ahead and save presets for your plugins, you can save groups, which allows you to save even more time. And it's the same thing, except now that the floppy disk is at the lower left-hand corner of the group, you'll go ahead and click on this, and under your audio effect racks preset section, because a group that's being saved is known as an audio effect rack. That's what the grouping is actually like called. And you can actually find an empty audio effect rack if you went into, you know, your utility plugins. But what's known, and if anything's grouped together, it's known as an audio effect rack in Ableton. So it's under those presets whenever you save. So let's say we have our bit crusher and we have our EQ, and it's like that's your sound. So for me, I would say the Foxed sound. Now we have that saved as a preset, and if we delete this, we'll get back to what we first had in the beginning. So nothing that we hadn't heard before. And now for everything that we do, whenever we drag and drop or double click the Foxed sound audio effect preset, everything will sound like this. And we can go ahead and apply, if we go find a different, literally anything. It could be like, you know, if we look up a loop. We can even do, you know, you can put this on vocals and everything, blah, blah, blah. And now. So you can drag and drop that audio effect on anything. And guys, there's no limitations to audio effect, like how many effects you can have. Like for instance, I know some dubstep producers that still talk about how important OTT is. They'll have 1,000 instances, not actually 1,000, but they'll have multiple instances of OTT at very small percentages turned on. And then they'll save that as a rack, and then they'll incorporate that to many of their bass sounds, even some of their drums. You can do this with any sort of plugin. Now, the thing to consider is that if you're using external plugins outside of Ableton, it's hard for you to save those presets in Ableton because they're saved in the actual the program itself or the plugin itself, which you can save as presets. But it's hard for you to you can't actually find them in Ableton in the preset folder. However, that being said, if you went ahead and used stock Ableton plugins along with external VSTs, and then you group them together in an audio effect rack, you can save that and it'll auto save that preset for that external VST that you have. So for example, we have, rather than using our EQ 100 cutoff, I'm going to go ahead and incorporate a fab filter EQ because it just works so nicely for so many different things. Voila, here we are. So we don't have anything enabled yet. We still have our Redux, and it's a little bit too loud, so we'll play it. And we're here. So we'll cut it off. We'll do a brick wall. We'll adjust accordingly. I'm going to cut it off once again around the 100 hertz frequency range and make sure that it's at the end of the audio effect rack because we want to make sure that nothing is like whatever happens at the end. We want to make sure that we have, you know, all the EQing for the low end. So we have it here. And we can see all of our low end being cut off. Now, if we save this as, once again, you want to save it within the audio effect rack itself, not the actual plugins. This little, on the side where it says the little floppy disk. You want to click that. And now it's the Foxed sound with fab. Random name. So we have that. We'll delete this. And now, when we open up this preset rack, it is already there, ready to go, along with Fab Filter and whatever you had your Bit Crusher / Redux to. As I said, you can do this with every single plugin and keep it as an effect track, which is what a lot of people do for mastering chains, mixdown chains. If they have a particular sound that they use when post-processing certain basses or even kick drums, people use Saturn and compression, and they already know what they like to do. You can do this for every single, any idea that comes your way, you can apply this. It's really nice. Now, as a last bit of information, let's say you are a frequenter of the stock Ableton reverb. People make fun of it all the time. I actually use it a lot because it's good for a lot of atmospheric reverb stuff that I do. Although it's not like the end all be all, I still use it, not gonna lie. So we'll get rid of our audio effect rack that we have here, and we'll go ahead and initialize our reverb. Now you'll see that it's already, my quality is set to high. That's actually not the default. When you open it up, you'll see that the quality is set to eco. Now, what does quality mean? Well, based on your computer, if you don't have as powerful as a computer, reverb can create a lot of CPU usage and slow everything down. However, that being said, if you have a fast computer, you can go ahead and turn the quality to high, and your reverb will sound better, more clear, more consistent, etc., etc. However, that being said, if you want to not have to change that setting every single time, you can click on high, and you can right click on the very top of the preset and save as default preset. If you already have one, you can overwrite it. Now, if we close out and we initialize a reverb, and we'll do it right from the actual audio effects panel on Ableton, we'll go ahead and open up a reverb, which I am having, there we go, reverb. Now we click on it, and you'll notice that the quality is high. You can do this for all of the stock Ableton settings as much as you would like. So let's say you want a low cut and a high cut reverb every single time, and you want spin off, and you want no diffusion, and you don't want a chorus, but you want a low dry and you want a high wet, and that's like your sound. You can save this preset as it is so that every time you initialize the reverb, it'll turn to exactly that setting. Really useful. All of these you can apply to literally anything that you think of. I use my audio effect racks for my mastering chain, my basses, like you name it, and it just saves up that much time so you don't ever have to worry about it. And once again, everything's super adjustable. You can always change all the settings whenever you want, but at least you have something to start with faster than you having to manually input everything each time. I hope this was really useful for you guys. I'm really excited to see everyone's progress. People have reached out thus far and told me that they are using some of my different tips and tricks. I hope that everyone's understanding everything clearly. If not, please reach out to me. I'd love to help you out a little bit more in depth. And if you guys like these videos, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And also, if you want any more in-depth tutorials or information, I have my Patreon at patreon.com/foxedofficial. There's a lot of resources there, as well as my personal lessons. Let me know if you guys are interested. I would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day. Stay crazy and stay foxed.